News Talk on Samar News, your go-to podcast for the latest headlines and in-depth discussions. Join us as we unravel the stories that matter most, bringing you insightful commentary and expert analysis. Tune in for thought-provoking conversations that spark dialogue and inspire action. Stay connected with the news that shapes our world, only on News Talk on Samar News.
Imagine stacking about 11 Burj Khalifas end to end. That gives you some idea of the scale of Mount Everest, just breathtaking.
Absolutely immense. But within that beauty, it's an incredibly tough, unforgiving place.
Yeah, that's what we're focusing on today. We're going to look into the recent, really tragic events up there, specifically the deaths of 2 climbers this season.
We really want to understand the harsh realities behind the mountain's allure.
Exactly. So we're drawing on news reports, the ones detailing what happened.
And also expert commentary on, just how dangerous high-altitude climbing really is.
Right. Well, our mission today is pretty clear. Figure out what happened, understand why even really experienced climbers are so at risk on Everest.
And sort of place these events in the bigger picture.
We want to give you a clear, concise understanding of this incredibly challenging environment. Okay, so let's get into it.
Okay. So the immediate news is the confirmation of 2 deaths. Subrata Ghosh from India and Philip Santiago II from the Philippines.
And these are the first reported fatalities for this climbing season, which runs March to May, right?
That's correct. Regrettably, yes.
The details that are coming out, they paint a pretty stark picture. Subrata Ghosh, he was 45. He died on Thursday coming down.
Yes, below the Hillary Step, importantly. That was after he'd actually reached the summit.
And the report mentioned something quite striking, that he apparently refused to descend from below the Hillary Step. That really makes you think, doesn't it?
It does. I mean, what's going on there? Is it just pure exhaustion, or does the lack of oxygen mess with your head, your decision-making?
Could it make you underestimate the danger? Or maybe overestimate how much you have left in the tank?
Well, that's tragically not unheard of in the death zone. The Hillary Step, like you said, it's way up there, above 8,000 meters, over 26,000 feet.
The death zone.
Exactly. Critically low oxygen. And at those altitudes, judgment can be severely impaired. Hypoxia, basically. Not enough oxygen getting to your brain, your tissues.
So you've summited, you have that huge sense of achievement, but your body is failing.
And you might make irrational choices. It's a known risk.
Then there's the other very sad case. Philip Santiago II, also 45. He died late Wednesday, but he was at the South Col, Camp the 4th.
Right, and he was still on his way up.
Yeah, ascending. And the reports mentioned he told people he was feeling tired when he got to Camp the 4th. It's almost hard to grasp functioning on so little oxygen.
Well, Camp the Note, the South Col, that's also in the death zone. So even getting to there is incredibly taxing. Oxygen is already dangerously scarce.
The fact he was already feeling significant fatigue there, that's a worrying sign.
Definitely.
And it's important to note, both climbers were part of the same international expedition, organized by Snowy Horizon Treks and Expedition.
That's right.
For Mr. Ghosh, they're dealing with bringing his body down, and a post-mortem will confirm the cause of death. For Mr. Santiago, the cause isn't known yet.
Yes, those are the details as reported.
Okay, so we've heard about these specific incidents. Let's maybe pivot a bit and dig deeper into why these altitudes are just so incredibly dangerous, even for people who prepared really well.
Yeah, and this is where someone like Dr. Ted Esguerra offers really valuable insight. He's the expedition doctor for the Philippine Mount Everest team.
Okay.
And he really stresses that, look, preparation is absolutely vital. You can't skimp on it, but it just doesn't guarantee safety above 8,000 feet.
He said something like, the real challenge begins beyond 8,000 feet.
Exactly. That's the crux of it.
He also talks about this physiological altitude zone, starting around 8,200 feet. The massive stress on the body. It's not just oxygen, is it?
No, not at all. You mentioned preparation doesn't guarantee safety. Maybe climbers sometimes overestimate certain aspects?
Or underestimate others?
That's a good question. Dr. Esguerra points out that above 10,000 feet, you need extreme caution. Pushing yourself nonstop is just really risky.
Because at those heights, your basic system, circulation, cardiovascular, even your immune system, they're all severely compromised.
Seriously, your immune system too.
Oh, yes. Think about it. Your body is just fighting to maintain basic functions. It's working overtime in an environment it was never designed for. Wow. And that can lead to really serious medical emergencies, right? Like pulmonary hypertension and high-altitude pulmonary edema. HAPE.
Exactly. And they sound terrifying because they are. Pulmonary hypertension is basically dangerously high blood pressure in your lung arteries.
Triggered by the low oxygen.
Yes. It can cause blood flow to back up, making it harder and harder to breathe. And if that progresses to HAPE,
That's fluid in the lungs.
fluid filling the air sacs in your lungs, like drowning from the inside, it can be fatal very, very quickly.
And these conditions can just appear rapidly up there.
Frighteningly fast, yes. The death zone is just that unforgiving.
It's easy to get caught up in the sheer physical side of it.
Yeah.
But the human element, the reasons people climb,
Yeah.
that's huge too.
Absolutely. And Dr. Esquerra made a really important point about Philip Santiago's death. He said, essentially, that dying on the mountain isn't a sign of weakness.
Right, and he connected it specifically to Santiago's motivation.
Yes, that he was climbing to advocate for children fighting cancer. That adds such a profound layer to this.
It really does. Makes you think Everest often represents so much more than just climbing a big rock, doesn't it?
For sure. For Santiago, mountaineering was clearly deeply personal, and his mission was tied to that passion.
So climbers are carrying these personal dreams, these causes up there with them. It's rarely just about getting to the top.
Almost never just about the summit. It's about pushing limits, personal goals, or, like Santiago, bringing attention to something vital. Everest is this massive symbol, isn't it, of human ambition, resilience.
Yeah. So, okay, we have these incredible dangers, this immense challenge, but people keep coming, hundreds every year.
That's right. The report mentioned Nepal issued 459 permits just for this season.
459, wow. And nearly 100 climbers and guides had already summited just this past week.
It really highlights how popular Everest climbing is and, honestly, how important mountaineering and tourism are for Nepal's economy. It's critical for them.
Absolutely. And there's the historical side, too. The Himalayan database says at least 345 people have died on Everest over more than a century of expeditions.
345 lives. It's a sobering number. It really underlines that the danger has always been there. This beautiful, awe-inspiring mountain is also fundamentally perilous.
So just to kind of wrap up the main points from our dive today, we've looked at this tragic loss of life, a really stark reminder of the extreme dangers in Everest's death zone.
Dangers that don't really diminish, even if you're very experienced.
And of these dangers, they come from multiple angles, don't they? The
Right.
lack of oxygen, the incredible physiological stress.
Which makes climbers vulnerable to all sorts of life-threatening conditions that can just escalate incredibly quickly.
And alongside that physical reality, we've touched on the deeply personal reasons people climb. The dreams, the causes. Philip Santiago's advocacy being such a powerful example.
It adds that crucial human dimension to these stories.
Definitely. So maybe a final thought for you, our listener, to ponder.
Given everything we've discussed, the inherent unavoidable dangers and the deeply personal, powerful reasons that pull people towards this challenge,
What does the enduring allure of Everest, this majestic but utterly unforgiving giant, what does it really tell us about the human spirit?
and maybe about our complex, often paradoxical relationship with the most extreme places on Earth, something to think about.
News Talk on Samar News, your go-to podcast for the latest headlines and in-depth discussions. Join us as we unravel the stories that matter most, bringing you insightful commentary and expert analysis. Tune in for thought-provoking conversations that spark dialogue and inspire action. Stay connected with the news that shapes our world, only on News Talk on Samar News.